Stephen Keeley is a rent-to-rent expert who transforms properties into profitable assets through innovative subletting strategies, specialising in short-term rentals to contractors, corporates and families. And Stephen is on the line with us here. How are you today?
I'm great, Toby. Fantastic, and thanks for having me on.
So, what you do is quite fascinating, but also quite complicated for those that don't know much about it. So, what actually is the rent-to-rent strategy, and what does that entail?
Okay, so it's a great way, it's a great tool to get into property. So, in short, what we do, we rent a property from a landlord. With his consent, we then sublet it. We can sublet it in two different ways. We can either long-term let, which then we turn it into a HMO. A HMO is where we split each room individually and rent the rooms out. The tenants then share the communal areas like the kitchen, bathroom, etc. And then we charge them accordingly. But the short-term strategy is where we rent the rooms out to an entire family or corporates, and on platforms such as Airbnb and Booking.com, where everybody knows, and then we receive the income through that.
And you mentioned it is, of course, with the landlord's permission, but what actually is in it for them? Because wouldn't they make more money if they just did this themselves?
It would, and you would think that. And many of our mentees struggle to get their head around that, actually. But a lot of these landlords are very happy to get a passive income. That's the reason why they got into the business. So that there's a lot involved in the whole business model and a lot of education needed to be able to do that. So they're simply happy for us to take on a property as a company that looks after it more than an average tenant would.
Yeah.
And most of all, they get the property kept in the same or even better condition, because obviously that's in our interest to keep their properties tip-top.
Now, what was the inspiration behind creating your Revive rent-to-rent program?
Ever since I gave up my day job over 5 years ago and I got a mentor myself, and since then I've had very high-end mentors. And it's just something that I've always wanted to do. It completely changed my life, rent to rent, starting my own business, and I started many other businesses, but rent to rent has been my passion. And I've just always wanted to give back to others, which I have over the years had mentees, but never really taken it seriously. And now I have. We're getting massive results from our mentees, and I'm so happy that I did take this step.
Obviously, you mentioned the benefits for the landlords, but for the actual tenants as well, are there any benefits for them?
Absolutely. They get a business that knows what they're doing rather than just an accidental landlord. And sometimes they haven't had the education like we have.
Yeah.
So regarding the long-term tenants, we accommodate them to whatever their genre might be, or their avatar. So, for example, we would put in students with students, so they all get on with each other. If there is any building works or any kind of works around the area, then we put them together. So we put the types of people together. So they all get on with each other, and that's what it's all about, is having a happy living environment for the long-term tenants. And regarding the short terms, and of course, there's a lot to go in that. To have a really good business that runs well and all systemized with a good flow of guests coming in and out. So there's a lot of requirements that the guests need, and you can't just do that without any knowledge. So we have returning guests, and they're always very happy.
And even if somebody isn't a landlord or, a wannabe tenant, are there ways that they can still participate in the program?
Absolutely. I mean, we give away free advice on my group, and I never hold back on anything. My philosophy has always been to, if you give and then you receive back in other ways. So if anyone wants to learn and they're not quite sure about what strategy they want to go with, or they haven't quite got the funds yet, it's all there on my Facebook profile at the Revive Rent to Rent.
Can somebody kind of with no property industry experience participate?
They can participate, but I would strongly advise to have some education. It's not something you could go into blind. You know, there are regulations. There's a lot that can go wrong, and especially when you're taking on a property up from 3 to 5 years, then you need to do your due diligence, and you really need to know the area and how to work out the numbers to make sure that that property is viable and will make money. And, you know, we teach all this in our program.
And what level of education would you need? I mean, would you have to do a full course in something, or would it be something that you could learn quite quickly?
Our mentees have taken on properties within a week. I'll give an example of Paul. He's retired, and he's took our course on the Friday. We did a blueprint call with them on the Saturday, and the blueprint call is just so I can understand his situation and what best strategy suits him and what plan of action we're going to implement. So on the Monday, we got started. He got on the phone, and within half a day, he had a call with a landlord who had multiple properties, and that was pretty much agreed within one day. So it can be as quick as that. And that property, I'll just add that, you know, that could bring up to from £900 to £1,500 a month income just for a day's work.
And on the other hand, are there any challenges that participants might face in the rent-to-rent business?
You know, the main challenge that many mentees face is taking the first steps and making them phone calls. It seems quite daunting, but you know, what I do, we're there on the first phone calls to the landlords. And once they've called one or two, that's it, they're away. They actually really enjoy it. But it's like everything, you know, you need to dip your toes and get in there and do it. And then it's not so daunting after that.
And what do you think makes your program, Revive R2R, different from other similar programs or strategies that are out there?
Over the years, I've seen so many of these big companies and so many people paying huge amounts of money into these companies and then they go in there and they're promised one-to-one calls and things like that, and they're never really looked after. They're just thrown a load of documents and some videos and left to get on with it. People, this is a completely different business for a lot of people. So you need someone there to be with you, answer your questions, be by your side, hold your hand, you know, and most of all, reassure you that you're taking the right steps and everything you're doing is correct.
Yeah.
And this is what we do. I do a lot of one-to-ones, and I'm always on hand for the mentees because obviously their success is mine.
Do you have any plans to expand the program, or, you know, have any other projects and things that you're working on that will come up in the future?
I'm enjoying doing what we're doing at the moment. The network is building, and it's really picking up momentum now. People are really actively get involved, and I'm enjoying the process. We can only take on so many mentees because obviously I don't want to spread myself too thin and obviously devalue the mentees' time with me. So yeah, at the moment I'm happy. I'm really happy. I've got to the point where my business is running and it doesn't need me. This is why I teach again, is to automate everything. You're working on the business, not in the business.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is to get a business running, and this is what we teach, so that you don't need to be working anymore. You then have the time to do things that you enjoy, which this is exactly what I'm doing, and I enjoy it. So yeah, nothing yet. Nothing quite yet. That's a short answer.
Well, in the meantime, where are we able to find everything to do with Revive, Rent to Rent, and participate and keep up to date with you everywhere?
You can find me on Facebook, Stephen Keeley with a V and then Keeley. I'm on there, and then we have a Revive Rent to Rent for Beginners group, and that is absolutely free, and it's got all the free advice, and I'm always posting in there almost daily. So, also any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Brilliant. Well, many thanks for joining us today. It's been great to have you here.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.